Okay, so we've got our idea. We're pretty sure there's a need for it. Now we've got to make it happen. And very often you need money to make it happen. But I'm not going to take that for granted. On a piece of paper, please, just write down very quickly how much money you need to get your business up and running. Just write down, please, just a figure. Okay, and I'll pick somebody at random and I will pay that money to them. Okay?
Yeah.
So write down how much money you need. Maybe it's nothing, maybe it's £1 million, maybe it's more. How much money do you need to get your business up and running? Got it? Okay, hands up if you need less than £100. Okay? Hands up if you need less than £1,000. Hands up if you need more than £50,000. Hands up if you need more than £100,000. Hands up if you need more than £1 million. This lady needs more than £1 million. 2 million? 3 million? How much you need, sir? Let's just... 4 million, okay? So we've got from under £100 to over 4 million. Unfortunately, we've got panellists who can talk to all those different scale of needs. So I'm going to introduce you to our first panellist. So back to Tim. Tell us about the business you set up and what kind of financial backing, if any, you needed to do that.
Hi there. Just a bit of background. I started with ICI down on Teesside at Wilton and got 23 years in there, and we were basically made redundant, so thought the world had ended. So we formed Outpace. We were packaging consultants with ICI, left on a Friday, came back on a Monday, and everything's been great since, because we've been going 10 years now. We formed another business called RPS, Returnable Packaging Services, and that's been going 7 years. We started Outpace with, we had the backing of our redundancies, which was very good. It was nearly a year's salary, myself and another business partner. But we actually had £500 off Business Link to start it, so that's a fairly low sort of entry business. Admittedly, it's mainly a consultancy, well, it is a consultancy that we do, a packaging consultancy. So very low entry, really. One of our highlights was about 5 years ago when B&Q approached us, and a bit of background of this is that they were on Watchdog the night before, and Nicky Campbell had given their chief exec a bit of an arse kicking and said, why are you so poor at delivering kitchens? And he gave quite a lot of reasons why they were, and also why he was going to improve it. And he said in front of Watchdog cameras, I will solve this, I will see it's solved, and we will improve our service. You will not see me back on this programme. 6 weeks later, hello Mr Campbell, and he was back again, and they got worse. And the main problem was basically cardboard packaging around kitchens. You know, it just wasn't protecting the kitchens, especially kitchen worktops. So the following day, this chief exec, I think, had gone to all his staff and said, get me a solution to this massive problem. And I think they must have Googled every packaging design consultancy in Britain, if not further afield. And we were one of those Googles, and they had a chat with us, said this is the problem, kitchen worktops, very heavy, but very easily damaged. Once it's got one little nick in the corner, one little scratch, that ain't going in your nice new kitchen. Take it away, try again. And B&Q would try again and again. So they thought that they would have and tick the environmental box, they'd have a reusable package. So that was our brief. And we designed them this multi-package business package that they could hopefully get their 10 trips out of. Now at that point, we got supported by a government body called WRAP. It stands for Waste Resource Action Programme. And we got £40,000 then, because we've got a big high-profile B&Q willing to put their name forward. Little Outpace is the packaging project manager, and then we would trial this multi-trip packaging concept with B&Q and all its deliveries and things like that. And long story short, you know, we solved all the problems. It was dead easy to handle. We didn't have the tape to get rid of. operators were cutting the fingers on using the Stanley knives and doing the packaging, we solved that. You know, they really do preach about, you know, they saved 3,000 tonnes of cardboard packaging now by adopting this carrier pack. And they've also saved £2.35 million since they've switched from single trip packaging to multi-trip. We, as I said, we did get a grant for that off this RAB for £40,000. So that's another, they're also highly delighted with that kind of payback as well.
And just for a grant like that, do they expect to get it all back, or is it all sorts of...
their target is to reduce landfill. So anything that's going to landfill, i.e. the single trip packaging, the cardboard and the tape, 3,000 tonnes of that is a big, it'll probably fill this room quite easily in cardboard and tape alone. So RAP, that's their target. They're not bothered about the cost savings that B&Q have done, they just want to divert waste from landfill. So that's £3,000 in their tick box, 3,000 tonnes in their tick box. It sounded like the end of the world, I must admit, when my boss said, "Sorry Tim, I haven't got a job for you." But 10 years later on, with hindsight, I wish he'd said that 20 years ago. It's just getting out that comfort zone of being in a big company and getting your paycheck every month, you know, and you do a job and that's how you go on. So it's this adapting to change, I think, that we have to try and get over today, and those who adapt better and quicker are more likely to, you know, to go and have a go themselves, I think.
They know in their heart of hearts, I want to run a business and it's something that I want to do. I want to be entrepreneurial, but not necessarily have got all the sort of pieces of the jigsaw there, and they kind of need a bit of guidance and a bit of support and encouragement to sort of enable them to see where they can take their business, or what sort of idea, what kind of route they can go down, what sort of doors are open to them. So very much like a supportive environment. And this was me, you know, like a year and a half ago, I was a person who would attend something like this and be like, really want to start a business, but I'm not sure about this and I'm worried about that. So it's very much to sort of help people to kind of get there, really, I suppose.
Sarah, tell us about Artisan Chocolate.
Basically, Saverins is a tiny business, really because of the nature of what the business sells. So the only chocolate that I sell through the company are from very small artisan chocolate producers. So you might only have sort of 3 or 4 people working in their business. So the volume of chocolate they can produce is tiny. And really they're right at the very top of their game, and it's a kind of double-edged sword. They can't ever grow too big, because the bigger they grow, the harder it is to kind of keep the quality really high. So financially, for me, for the business, I knew from the start that I wanted the quality of the chocolate to be very high. That was the sort of unique selling point to the business. You can't get better than this. But because of that, the business is never ever going to be Thornton's or a Hotel Chocolate, because the quality could never ever kind of volume-wise match it. So when I sort of thought about funding and how I was going to start the business, I wanted to shop, and that's sort of the way I envisaged the business going, and it was very sort of idealistic, because obviously when you think in your mind, I'm going to start a business, you just kind of think, it's my business, it'll be exactly as I want it to be. So you get very carried away with sort of like these grand ideas of how amazing and wonderful it's all going to be, without really thinking about the sort of financial aspect. When I came to look at getting funding in order to have a shop, I kind of realised that I needed about £70,000, and at the time I was working, I still have the same job which I work now part-time in a sales role, and kind of the only way of saving the money was to put everything I made as a bonus into a separate bank account and have that as the business bank account, and then also beg money from family and friends and anybody who had any sort of interest in nice chocolate. Because of the nature of the business, because it's quite sort of niche and it's quite sort of high end, it was very difficult to kind of access the pots of money that are out there for new businesses, because it wasn't a social enterprise or a charity. It didn't have any involvement with like children or necessarily making the world a better place, although in my opinion it clearly does. So yeah, I think my sort of advice would be, think about what you want to do, and that will kind of very much dictate the pots of money that are open to you. So for me, I had to make the money myself, and I had to borrow the money from family. And And I also had to be very sort of realistic about what I could do, so how much money I could raise and where that would get me. So I couldn't raise £70,000, so rather than starting the business as a shop, I began the business as a website which sells chocolates. It's got an e-commerce aspect and also a concession within a delicatessen. So that's the model that the business has sort of taken and the way in which the business is progressing to have more and more concessions, because it's a very, very much a really tiny overheads, but nevertheless it's enabling people to actually buy the products in store. So I think from a financial perspective, I've had to be very flexible about the way in which the business has gone, and that's quite hard sometimes when you spend a lot of time and energy talking about the business. And certainly for the first couple of months it was really easy, because I was basically just going up and telling all my friends and all these new people, oh, I'm starting a business, I'm going to have a chocolate shop, it's going to be amazing. And then when you realise, actually, well, hang on a minute, Sarah, how are you going to get the money to do that? You can't get enough, you're going to have to be flexible and do something different. So my big advice would be flexible, and don't worry about having to change your idea and kind of going down a slightly different route, because I know, you know, in 2 years' time I will have a shop and I will be able to do that, and in 10 years' time I'll have sort of 10 shops. But it's being patient and sort of thinking about, okay, this door's closed to me, so, you know, let's look through the other doors, because there always are, and there's always, if you're really passionate about what you want to do, there is always a way that you can do it. It might not be the way you initially thought, but nevertheless it will be, you know, it will be a business.
I mean, I'm very, very, very passionate about being from the North East, and I think that things like the Entrepreneurs Forum and events like this are vital for sort of keeping the lifeblood of the entrepreneurial kind of spirit that we've got in the North East alive, because there are big businesses in the North East and there are a lot of people with brilliant ideas, but it's just sort of fostering that kind of attitude of you can do it, you really can, you don't have to kind of make excuses for yourself. There are like people there like If We Can, You Can and the Entrepreneurs Forum who'll be there to help you and support you. So yeah, they're absolutely vital.